and was far too short to climb out of the van. She was trapped. Firefighters arrived to put out the flames, but they couldn't see Patricia or hear her cries for help. Water from their hoses gradually poured in from above, and Patricia managed to use the rising water level in gas to climb out. Then she heaved herself over the edge, fell again, and fell in a waist pool of water on the basement floor. Unable to walk, she clutched onto a bit of plastic tubing and screamed for help. Nobody came. Hours passed like this. However, just as she was giving up hope, two rescuers found her. Battered, freezing cold, and confused, Patricia was carried out of the factory and taken to the hospital, where thankfully she's expected to make a full recovery. I don't know how he was it, but that was an absolutely bonkers story of survival. Blunder Blade. Some people absolutely love DIY. Me though, I'm not a fan. And it's all because of videos like these. Yeah, so this guy was using something called an angle grinder, essentially a spinning blade used for cutting metal. If you think that sounds dangerous, you're completely right. Supposedly, halfway through using it, the blade broke, flew off, and got lodged in his hat. Holy moly. If that corduroy bucket hat hadn't been there, it would have gone straight into his head. Wait, would a bucket hat really stop a skating blade? I mean, it's very unlikely, but possible, I suppose. But if we look at this shot here, we can see that he was using a tool with his right hand. When it switches to his face, except the blade is in the right side of his head. But look at the next side. The image has been flipped. If we flip it back, we can see it's actually on his left side. I guess he could have been using it with his left hand, but if the blade sheared off mid-spin, would some fabric really have been enough to stop it? Really convenient, seeing as he's not wearing any other safety equipment. A little too convenient, if you ask me. Personally, I think this video has been staged for TikTok clout. But what do you think? Let me know down in the comments. Resistance. The brain is a remarkable organ. Not only is it responsible for everything we do and feel, it can also keep working despite major injury. And back in 2016, one unfortunate 12-year-old girl from India found this out the hard and very gross way. She'd been suffering from seizures, headaches, and general weakness for over 2 years, but nobody knew why. Then, her symptoms suddenly got so bad, she became paralyzed down the right side of her body. Doctors saw a giant growth that was ruptured and opened. Her life was saved, but by some sudden, it happened. Because it was so close to the brain now, it had complicated a whole bunch of issues, which meant her paralysis endured. There was only one thing to it: surgery. Incredibly, after a 2.5-hour operation, the cyst was successfully removed intact and Nita pulled through. 2 weeks later, all her symptoms had disappeared. Wow. Nita is now an ordinary girl again, enjoying life to its fullest. Driving here is a We're smart. We don't need to tell you why driving is dangerous. No. But there are far more risks to the road than you imagine. Like, I don't know, trees randomly collapsing as you drive past.
Okay, Matt, let's go!
A second earlier, and that driver was dead in her car. Yeah, very That's one man from India testifying.
No!
Rushed into his truck, overturning it and leaving him stranded against the rising waters for over 6 hours. Thankfully, the Shelter and Wildlife Conservation Area team were called out. These guys were only really equipped to deal with animal rescues in the area.
Sorry guys, I got a bit overboard.
Their helicopter, they made a daring attempt to rescue the driver by getting as close to the upturned truck as possible. In a moment too soon.
Sorry guys, I got a bit overboard.
Even with nature on your side though, trucks come with their own set of risks, especially if you're driving behind them. In Florida, back in 2018, one woman was driving down Interstate 95 when a plywood sheet in the truck in front of her came loose and flew backwards, smashing straight through her windscreen. By sheer luck, the sheet didn't touch her, but had gotten terrifyingly close to her neck. It's a miracle she managed to stop the vehicle before losing control. See, the truck driver hadn't tied down the chute properly, and it's a problem plaguing more than just pickup drivers. TikToker Hello420 posted the following video after a similar accident happened while he was driving behind a log truck. So this is a general service announcement to anyone hauling anything on trucks. Double, triple, then quadruple check that your roads are secure. Hey, quintuple, sextuple, and septuple check it if you got time. I wouldn't even be mad at an octuple check. But even if you never drive behind another truck again, you could still end up in some sticky situations. One of my viewers was driving past the truck when the brake pad flew off the wheel well, and you guessed it, hit their windscreen. They slammed on the brakes, and thankfully the pad broke free without injuring anybody. But it just goes to show you can never be truly prepared. Something nobody knows more than Mauricio and I from California. Mauricio was sitting parked below a hillside near his house when his girlfriend called him and told him to go back in their home to check something. Mauricio got out of the car and walked back into the house, but as soon as he crossed the threshold, there was a loud rumbling followed by an even louder crash. Shocked, Mauricio turned around and was horrified at what he saw. A huge rock was buried in the roof of his car, completely crushing it. It had fallen down the hill in a landslide, and if his girlfriend had called him just moments later, it would have smashed right into him. Oh, talk about a rocky start to the day. A close shave. Sometimes I hear a story that stuff. A young woman crawled in the middle, went out for a walk. On her, she came across an construction site near a tree and decided to explore it. This, it turns out, was a very attractive move. The place was littered with rocks and half-finished structures, and Tyler wasn't being super careful when she was working. Suddenly, she tripped and landed neck first on a long metal rod that was protruding from a brick. Luckily, however, there were people nearby who saw the whole thing happen. They ran to get help, and it wasn't long before paramedics came to the shocking scene. She needed to be taken to the hospital. When they got there, the doctors were gobsmacked. By some miracle, the rod missed all of the vital nerves and blood vessels in her head. The docs got to work gradually pulling it out, and after 35 grueling minutes, it was over. Amazingly, Tyler survived and was discharged just 3 days later without any lasting consequences. Well, my jaw just hit the floor. Luckily, there were no metal rods down there. The girl's best friend. Back in 2012, following an ordeal that's too shocking to discuss on YouTube without getting demonetized, a woman named Nicolina Pleasantbrack found herself tied up and locked in darkness inside a cardboard box buried in the ground. Upon realizing the reality of her situation, trying to keep her breathing as shallow as possible to preserve oxygen, she began frantically thinking for a way to escape. Remember, she was contemplating moving her. The diamond was set so that it stood out of the ring, which she could use as a very basic cutting tool. With a desperate determination, she started cutting away at the vines around the wrists, and eventually managed to break through them. Now it was time for the vines. It proved tougher than it looked. But after an enormous effort, and countless punches and scratches, Nicolina managed to punch through. Dirt fell down on her face and clothes, and with one final burst of strength, she smashed out of the hole and saw the sky again. There was no sweeter sight. Exhausted, but very much alive, She clambered out of the box, staggered to the road, and flagged down a motorist who called the police. The individual responsible for all this was arrested shortly afterwards and sentenced to 20 years in prison. Good riddance. A whole lot of strength, perseverance, and willpower got Nicolina out of that hole. If she didn't have her engagement ring, it could have been a very different story. I guess diamonds really are a girl's best friend. Cobalt out of there. As far as jobs go, history has shown that mining is one of the worst. Aside from the long hours and persistent dangers, the conditions are unpleasant, to say the least. Claustrophobic, cold, it's akin to its noon down there. But in some parts of the world, people are still forced to brave terrible conditions and go down into the mines to scrape a living, like cobalt miners in the Congo. Cobalt is an important metal used to make batteries, and the Congo has over 70% of the world's supply. In other words, it's big business. The problem is, mining operations are plagued with human rights issues, corruption, and poor safety standards. Back in March 2023, a group of miners were working underground when the worst thing possible happened. The mine collapsed on top of them. Trapped and pinned down in a tiny pitch-black cavern with the ceiling crumbling in by the second, things looked dire. This may sound like a nightmare, but it's a very real way that miners meet their end. Usually, more than 15,000 miners perish every year. But that number is likely much higher with all the undeclared accidents that occur. Some estimates put that figure closer to the hundreds of thousands. Those are not good odds. Luckily for our miners, there were other workers on the surface. They jumped heroically into action and started digging wildly at the ground with their hands. There wasn't much time. The mine was in the side of a hill, and the collapse stabilized the ground farther up, causing rocks to come hurtling down directly at the rescuers. Undeterred, they kept digging, and thanks to some deft dodging worthy of Muhammad Ali, they broke through without being hit. Amazingly, all 9 of the buried miners came bursting out of the occluded mine entrance one by one and were pulled to safety. Good. Even so, I'd highly consider a career change. Window pane. I love the feeling of flying. I adore it. Can't get enough of it. Some people, however, aren't so keen. And after I heard about British Airways Flight 5390, I could see why. It all started a couple of days before the airplane was due to take off. While performing scheduled maintenance, the ship manager realized that having needed to be replaced. So, he sent only, in stupidly having read the plane's instruction manual, he used the wrong screws to screw it back in with. After self-certifying his own work,